The FAC is a committee formed by the House of Commons to examine and advise on UK foreign policy. The Chief Minister warmly welcomed them on behalf of everyone on the Rock and praised the work of the committee, particularly for three important reports in 1999, 2002 and 2008. For its part, committee chairman Sir Richard Ottaway said they were friends and supporters of Gibraltar. Then it was down to business. Over an hour and a half, Mr Picardo hugely impressed the committee, as the chairman would then go on to confirm to GBC. He told them the relationship between Gibraltar and Britain has always been strong, even though their governments may be warmer and colder towards each other throughout the years. He said the relationship was the best it's been for years, and vexed only by the online gaming point of consumption tax proposals.
But we found there that the Foreign Office has been very helpful indeed, and that our problems have not been with them, or even with Her Majesty's Treasury, who is levying a tax, but with the Department of Culture, Media and Sport, something that we can look at in more detail.
The Chief Minister said the UK leaving the European Union would be a disaster for Gibraltar, and didn't even want to consider that scenario. He was encouraged by the fact that the leaders of all three major parties in the UK Parliament were likely to campaign for remaining with the Union, and argued that Gibraltar would in future want more Europe than the UK, not less. The core of questioning focused on relations with Spain, and an analysis of the UK's defence of Gibraltar. Mr Picardo said Spanish politicians had been quoted repeatedly saying Anglo Spanish relations were excellent despite Gibraltar. He said this couldn't possibly be the case when Spain was punishing 30,000 British citizens daily, and the UK should therefore distance itself from these claims. Mr Picardo said a possible resolution to the fishing dispute wouldn't stop the regular incursions by Spanish state vessels.
What we're seeing is an increase in incursions exclusively by state actors, doing things totally unrelated to fishing. For example, interfering with executive action being taken by the Gibraltar authorities, interfering with lawful bunkering activities in our waters, filming those who are bunkering in our waters in an attempt to intimidate them. So, although I would very much wish that we could get rid of the problem of incursions simply by resolving the fishing issues that we have with 60 fishermen in Spain, I don't think that we will.
A few eyebrows were raised around the room when committee member Sir John Stanley said the Foreign Office often takes several days to register a complaint to Madrid, and sometimes even waits until several can be bundled together to send in one diplomatic bag. He asked Mr Picardo whether he thought Madrid got the impression the FCO was just going through the motions. Mr Picardo said he was conscious that the Foreign Office had developed a strategy to ensure every complaint was registered, and that this was only right. However, during a separate line of questioning, he said things were obviously not getting any better, and therefore the results showed the UK obviously hadn't done enough to deter Spain.
If we look at what the United Kingdom has said, well, what the United Kingdom has said has been very robust. It's been more robust, perhaps, than it has been for 30 years. But if we look at the results of what has been said and what has been done, then the results are not so good. And, people in Gibraltar, this is a small geography, see incursions themselves, suffer frontier queues, either themselves or through their family members or their work colleagues, are constantly in the knowledge of what a frontier queue may be. We've seen the European Commission fail Gibraltar miserably when it's come to its inspection of the frontier between Gibraltar and Spain. Since then, we've seen a new phenomenon, which is the pedestrian queue, that can sometimes put old, young, and working people through having to queue in inclement weather, in hot weather, in cold weather, in rain, for up to 90 minutes, whilst a Spanish crack anti-terrorist Guardia Civil force intimidates them on the other side of the frontier as they go through. That is still happening. If it is still happening, not enough has been done.
He said it was time for British diplomacy to say enough.
What if these incursions were happening off Cornwall? What if the blackberries of the Guardia Civil were on the other side of the Eurotunnel, and British citizens going to Paris were made to queue for an hour and a half after they got off the train? And why doesn't British diplomacy say, enough? Why? I mean, I am yet to be persuaded by anyone of a good reason that affects Western democracies generally that we shouldn't be making the position very clear to Spain.
The Chief Minister said Gibraltar would welcome an increased Royal Navy presence in British waters and agreed it was time for the UK to modernise its relationship with all overseas territories, so they would all enjoy representation in the Houses of Parliament. In answers to questions from Andrew Rosendale, Mr Picardo said he had no doubts that the Queen would receive a huge welcome if she were to visit the Rock, a comment which received warm applause from the public gallery at the Garrison Library. Finally, Mr Picardo invited the committee to publish a report on the findings made during their visit. The chairman quoted the Foreign Secretary's assurance that the UK would do everything to safeguard Gibraltar and said the committee would ensure that happens.